Hi, welcome back to AmericanOutdoors.net. We are indoors today, and what I want to show you is a technique we use to taper the legs on a benchtop joiner. One of the most popular pieces of furniture that we create in our shop are the rustic farm-style harvest tables. We have two styles of legs that we use on these tables. The first are round, which we will turn on a lathe, and the second are the tapered style. Now I've got some examples here of some different methods that we use to taper our legs. And what I'm telling you today isn't the preferred method, it's just one that we use. So there is no right or wrong on how you want to do your furniture. But this one right here was cut on a bandsaw, and as you can tell, this is pretty rough. Part of this is due to the way we've got the bandsaw currently set up. Probably most of it is just my method, but you can probably see there's quite a wide variance in the width of the taper as it goes along the leg, and it's kind of cockeyed right there. This can all be cleaned up with a belt sander and pretty much shaped to a good looking finish. This second piece right here was done, the taper was done with a jigsaw. Now, as you can tell, this is a smoother finish here, and it was done quicker as well, and it won't take a whole lot of time to clean this up with a sander. This third piece, now these two are pine, this third piece right here is oak, and this was actually put together with two pieces of oak. We glued this, and this is already finished. We're not using this on a table. This pretty much hangs around the shop just as an example. But you can see we've run a round over bit on this. This is a heavier piece of oak versus the pine. And another reason I've got this up here is when you're removing material, you should always know the density of the wood. And oak being a thicker wood, we're not going to take as much material off each pass as we would with pine. So that said, this is the piece that we're going to use today. Now, I'm not including really how we do all this to finish the leg so much as showing you how to do the taper. However, we did already cut the collar or the band in this leg. And you can see we start from about 6 inches from the top of the leg, and we'll cut all four sides about 1/4 inch deep using a table saw. Once we do the first cut, we'll move the fence about 1/8 of an inch, and we'll make a second cut alongside of that. Once we complete that, we'll go down 1 inch, which will be 7 1/8 inches from the top of the leg, and we'll do the same thing. We'll just repeat that. Now, some of you that are pretty experienced in this may say, well, why don't you just use a dado blade? I could use a dado blade, and I wouldn't have to make multiple cuts. I also have one table saw, so I really don't want to spend the time to switch blades out for just a couple of cuts on these legs. Got the same effect, same thing. So anyway, this is a untreated pine, which you can get at most any hardware store, lumberyard, Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, whatever. We buy ours in 8-foot sections, and most of our table legs are a standard height of about 29 inches. So we can get about 3 legs per 8-foot section out of each one. So we're going to use this one on the benchtop joiner, and I'll show you the technique we use and how we get to our finished product. So as you can see, I have propped open the protective cover and exposed the cutter head in order to show you an easy way to find out where the blades will make their initial contact with your stock. And you do that simply by placing a piece of wood over the head, take your finger, and slowly move the head from left to right. And when you get to the point where the blade will no longer push the wood, you can mark that either with a pencil or in my case, I've used a piece of tape so that when I need to reach a specific measurement, I know that I can stop right there and I'll have a precise cut. So we've got two basic techniques that we use for tapering our legs. The first one's called a full taper, and basically what that means is we are going to taper this leg proportionally from the very top all the way to the bottom. It's very simple.
we know that this leg is already, it's 29 inches long. So we're going to find our center point, which in this case is going to be 14.5 inches. I will mark that point, 14.5 inches, with a pen or a pencil, whatever I've got. I only need to make one mark, but it needs to be accurate. At that point, I'm going to take the bottom of the leg and I'm going to run it across the joiner. Now I'm only taking off 1/32 at a time. I'm going to run this leg across the joiner until the center point is parallel with the edge of that blue tape. At that point, I'm going to take this and rotate it clockwise so my initial cut is exposed. And I'm going to run it across the cutter head again until that cut is also parallel. See, the first point is why it has to be accurate. As long as that is accurate, your other cut should be accurate too. The second kind of cut that we do, and I'll get more into the method here in a moment, we call it a 2/3 taper. And a 2/3 taper is basically, we will measure from the bottom of the lower collar down to the end of this leg. Now in this case it's 22 inches, so half of 22 is going to be 11. So my center point is basically right around here. But it's very simple to just alter your center point. Make your taper wherever you want it to be. In this case, say I want to go up to about 7 inches for my taper. I'll mark it right there. What that will give me is, I've already got a squared off leg up here. This will also remain squared off, and then we'll gradually start to taper down here. In my opinion, and some of our customers seem to agree with me, it creates a very handsome looking leg where it's just got a gradual taper down here, and with a nice finish on here and a nice round over on the edges. It's just a very good looking leg. So what I would do is I would say make my center point at 7. So again, I go across using the bottom of the leg, across the cutter leg, across the cutter head until the point reaches there. I'll rotate clockwise so that my cut is exposed. I'll go across the cutter head again. I'll repeat it, third time. I'll do the fourth side. I'll go across. I will make 2 passes doing that, taking 1/32 of an inch off each time. Now some people may say, well, that's not a lot, that's going to be kind of tedious. Well, my opinion is that it gives me more control over what I'm doing. So I'm not hogging a bunch of wood off. I don't have to worry about if I make a mistake, can I fix it or not. It's like sculpting. A little bit at a time, you're able to see the leg as it develops, and you can make changes or adjustments on the fly however you see fit. So if I've made 2 passes on here, taking 1/32 of an inch off at a time, I'm going to flip this leg over. And I'm not going to run the top over the cutter head. I'm going to run it over the cutter head, but I'm not going to make contact with the cutter head. I'm going to be putting pressure on the back. And it should be resting on that cut, on that pivot point right there, so that as it's going across the cutter head, the blades will not make contact with the leg until it's almost there or right on that pivot point. And then it will begin to taper back here. I will rotate it the same way, clockwise, so that I can see what's just taken place. And I will start again, leaving pressure on the back so that the front is forcefully lifted up off the cutter head, which it should do by itself, but I also tend to leave some pressure on back here just to make sure. And you'll rotate. Now, I'm only going to do that once. And then I'll go back and I'll take 2 more passes, 1/32 at a time, flip the top back over, feed it over the cutter head 1 time, and just repeat that. Now, most of the time, I will use a digital caliper, and I will keep track of the bottom of the leg. I like about 2 inches is where I like to end up, sometimes a little less. But you need to be measuring this just in case your settings are off, you're taking a little more material off than you thought, or whatever reason. You can make sure that all your legs are uniform and match when you go to put these back up. One quick point before we go any farther. I'm not the safety police. If you were paying attention earlier, you might have noticed there's no shield on my table saw. Nobody uses the table saw besides me. However, push pads, homemade push pad, push stick. Don't use your hands when you're running a piece of wood across the joiner. It's not safe. You'll notice earlier when I was pointing out how to find the contact point on your blade with your wood, I had a glove on. And that was just to keep from cutting my finger there. It might not have seemed dangerous. I would not wear a glove when I'm pushing wood across the joiner either. It can grab your glove. Joiners are hungry, and if you let your mind wander, they will eat. Also real quick, some safety glasses, ear protection. You know, you don't notice it till you get older, and I notice it. So we're nearly through with the roughing work on this table leg. We're going to take a router with a roundover bit, and we will go along the edges on all four sides of the leg and smooth them out and give it a nice soft appearance. We're also going to taper the bottom on each side of the leg, and that'll prevent tear out when the table's being moved across the floor or a hard surface. After that, we're going to take some 120 sandpaper and we'll do some sanding just to clear up any imperfections, some blemishes, any lumps that are showing, and then we'll do some very light fine sanding. Speaking of tear out, this table leg has an enormous amount of tear out right here. This will not go on a table. This will be for this video only, and then it will become a dog bone. Now, like most everything else that I enjoy doing, I'm no expert at this. I'm not a professional, and I'm not original, but I do watch out for those who are, and I'm not afraid to take an idea and transform it or adapt it to my own taste. So there's probably videos online that are much better than this by experts who have better equipment, more knowledge, and a lot of training. But if there's a message that I can give to you today, is that if you've got desire and just a few tools, and if you're not afraid to fail, you're not afraid to start over, just to keep going on, you can do what you want to do with projects like woodworking, furniture, or whatever your hobby or your interests are, as long as you're not afraid to fail. So I hope you've enjoyed this today. I hope you got something out of it. But please look us up on the web, AmericanOutdoors.net. Check us out on the YouTube. If you've got any comments or questions or complaints, feel free to share. Until then, we'll see you again. Thanks, folks.